The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk with SCORE. I'm Rick Sentz, one of your co-hosts today, and with me is Terry Pinch. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Rick. It's almost like we're in April.
It feels weird. It's kind of nice, but I know that sturgeon season and things like that sure don't like what they're seeing out the window right now.
No.
So with us today, Terry, is somebody that I've gotten to know over the years. And actually, someone that actually has taken advantage of some of the SCORE services as well over the years. His name is Mark Fluette, and Mark is the owner of Active Bike and Fitness in Appleton. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm glad you could make it in this morning. Just have to ask, with the early seasonal, unseasonal weather that we're having, what kind of impact is that having on your business right now, dealing in selling bikes and working with bikes?
We are seeing a good impact. There's, there's all sorts of people coming in for all sorts of reasons: flat tires, worn tires, needing tune-ups. We're seeing some coupons come in from an advertisement, so that's good timing as well. But it's been really good.
Good. So if you would do us a favor and kind of walk through, you've got your location over there on Badger in Appleton. And if you could just walk listeners through how you got to that point, maybe tell us the story of Active Bike and Fitness and maybe your story as well leading up to that.
Sure. Years ago, I worked in a bike shop. My first job in high school at 16 was in a bike shop. And then I moved to some other bike shops as I was into BMX riding, and some of the shops didn't favor that. So I kind of followed that into other shops. As years went on, I went into exercise equipment as well. So like a bike and fitness, an old fashioned bike and fitness store, kind of changed for me into just equipment, exercise equipment. And I got hired on with a couple other different companies that sold exercise equipment. And they really taught me how to run a business without having to pay the bills, but everything else, every other aspect. And it kind of led me here as I got bumped out of one industry. I decided to start up my own bike shop, and it's been great.
So you started the bike shop. What was the thought process as far as combining the biking and the fitness side of things as well?
Well, a lot of shops used to do it. You could go to a Schwinn shop and you can get a Schwinn Airdyne or a Schwinn Bowflex and a Schwinn bicycle all in the same place. And a lot of the shops that I worked at were like a Nina Bike and Fitness. That shop that I worked at for a while had great success with selling exercise equipment in the winter because it was long, hard winters, and we needed something other than bicycles to get you through. It was before internet, so we really needed something else to help fill the gap.
And so you started the business, and you walk us through the process that you went through beforehand. I mean, did you seek out advice? Did you attend classwork, things like that, before you actually decided to go forward with the business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2013, I decided to get my business plan together. I was still working for an exercise equipment store, and so my father and I joined SCORE and attended seminars. I had a SCORE mentor assigned to me. Her name is Kitty. She was great. She helped me create a business plan, and my business plan was real simple: old-fashioned customer service, new and used parts, new and used bicycles, new and used exercise equipment, which is something the other shops in the Valley don't do. So by 2014, I was up and running, and we had rented a small place in Appleton across from Taco John's, an outbuilding of the Northside True Value, and went through 3 years there. It was great. Grew the business and decided to buy a building.
So you own the building over on Badger?
Yeah, my father and I do.
Okay. And going back to the first few years across the street from Taco John's there, what were the first challenges that you ran into? Things you didn't anticipate?
Challenges, there was no bike lanes. There was very few parking spaces available to us. We kind of overused what we had. There was a bunch of really fast traffic, and people would zip by us and not see the building. So we had to work on signage, had to work on a little advertising and dabbling in that. The neighbors had a hard time getting used to us sometimes because they would park in their parking lot wrongfully, and there wasn't any hard feelings, but there was some reminders. Hey, that's not your parking lot. So there were little challenges like that, but seeing the bills in the winter go up with the heating was a bit of a challenge, as we weren't selling as much exercise equipment as we expected to. There was a lot of competition then, so we weathered it, and we were able to pay our rent on time every time, pay the bills on time every time. So things worked out.
And earlier you talked about the seasonality. When you started up, did you experience seasonality in your business?
Yes, definitely. A lot of the bike shop guys always dreaded winter coming, especially if they really weren't into the exercise equipment. Now that the internet's here, we have online sales, we have website sales and eBay sales, and there's several platforms we can sell our items through, and that really helps get us through. So I've actually had less, as I get older, less deliveries of exercise equipment, which is great for my back. But being able to sit at a photo booth, take photos of items, put them online, then we end up selling it to someone in Australia or the UK or California. So that's really picked things up in the winter as well, the online sales.
And how did it just happen that you started getting people from around the world ordering, or did you have put some effort into attracting people beyond the valley?
First, I started selling on a website called bmxmuseum.com, and it's a buy-sell trade website with forums and with information. They started as a website that just had a bunch of bicycles in an online museum, and it turned out to be a really big sales platform. So we joined in on that. It's very inexpensive. They don't take a cut, and we're able to sell our parts there. Then we soon grew into starting our own eBay store, and we've got hundreds of items on eBay, and that's really where the global thing comes in, and they help way better with shipping options. And we only have to ship it to a hub. Usually it's in Chicago, and then the seller pays eBay from there, and eBay takes care of all the shipping to wherever in the world it's going. Really convenient, real easy. It's been made easy.
So you were doing the online business, and what led to the idea then of, hey, we need to expand? What was the decision? What happened in the business to make you make that decision to move to your current location?
Mainly, we wanted a bigger parking lot. We wanted a multi-income property with apartments above, with storage in back. So there's actually a couple of apartments above the shop. There's a 2-bedroom and a single bedroom. There's good rental income there. We've been really lucky to have good tenants. We've got a landscaping company that rents our back parking lot for all of their equipment and trucks and trailers. And another old friend of mine that started a business, he keeps a piece of equipment on a trailer in the back as well. So all sorts of rental income coming in. And it really helps pay the taxes at the end of the year and keep things flowing.
So for someone that's never been to your store, Mark, what would they see when they first walk in?
First walk in, you'll see a couple pieces of exercise equipment and just rows and rows of bikes. A lot of them are e-bikes right as you walk in. Electric bikes, we've got dozens of them. Regular bikes, lightweight bikes stored on top on a big rack. Parts on the wall. Our eBay area has all the stuff on eBay on display, hanging from the ceiling and on slat wall. And it leads into 2 other rooms full of other parts and used bikes and used parts. Pretty big store. It's about 5,000 square feet total.
And the used bikes, is that part of what really helped it go international too? Because BMX riders are quite passionate about their sport. Is that what really helped it go international?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's parts going all over. It's some new, but mostly used and vintage. And some of the stuff has gotten really rare. There's plastic seats from the 80s that normally break when they're in an environment where people are riding year round. But up here, they only ride them 3-4 months a year, so things tend to last, and then they're stored better. So we've got a pretty good stock of parts from all sorts of different types of bikes, road bikes and mountain bikes and BMX bikes, that these rare parts are becoming more valuable and sought after, and collectors building up their project bikes need them. So it's neat to connect. We actually get photos of people's bikes after they're so happy they found that last part that they were looking for, and they found it with me. So that's kind of heartwarming. We like that.
So your lead bike that you sell is a Marin, is the Marin line. Do you have other bikes that you sell? And if so, why do you sell, why Marin, and why the other bikes that you choose to sell?
Marin was really the first brand that took us in as a new dealer, and it was the first brand that we brought into the old location, and they sent us banners, and there was guys coming from Marin County, California to welcome us and teach us the brand. It was really their great company, and they're still as popular as ever, if not more. The other brands we carry are like GT. GT Bicycles has been around since the 70s, and I've always been a huge fan. And old friend of mine from Neenah is actually a top pro rider for GT, so we got a cool connection there. We carry Surface. They're known for their saddles, Surface saddles, but Surface has actually expanded into all aspects of the industry, including the e-bikes. So we carry a line of their e-bikes, which every year they've got more variety there as well. Several other brands. There's smaller BMX brands. Reed is another one that's distributed out of our favorite distributor down in Milwaukee. And customer service there is really impeccable. So we like the brand is great, but the customer service really is better and backs it up even better. So it rounds out a good number of brands and a good selection of options for people coming in.
And for the used bikes, do you take any good quality BMX or just those brand names?
We try to stick to the bike shop brands as much as possible, but when a bike from Target comes in that says Schwinn, it's hard to turn down. They're decent quality if they're tuned up well, so we do those as well. But sticking to the bike shop brands, it's kind of like going out and buying a used Lexus. You get a good deal, but you're getting a high quality vehicle. The high quality bikes that we fix up, we'll see Giant and Specialized and Trek and all the big ones. We get lots of those in trade. We'll fix them up, new chain, tune up, whatever it needs, tires, grips, and find a new home for them and give them a guarantee on top of it. Make sure that in 90 days, we always tell people, we give you 90 days to try to break it, and makes them laugh. And it's true. If they come in and something's broken, we take care of it.
Okay. Well, we're at a perfect spot for the first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. We're glad you joined us this morning. Our guest this morning is Mark Fluette from Active Bike and Fitness. Before we get back to Mark, I'd like to tell you about Fox City Score. Score serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac. We have 40 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. These areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, HR, best practices, and many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and learn more about the Fox City Score chapter, visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to help set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can assist you in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. In addition, to support small business people, Fox City SCORE is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience and would like to share it with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and you can make a real difference for them. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. We will get back to you to explain more. So as we turn back to Mark, want to talk a little bit about in more detail about the services side of the business and how important that is to you overall. So first of all, could you tell us, did the service business start up right when you opened the shop, or was it added later? And how did you staff that when you got started?
It was right away, right off the bat. Part of the business plan was to have good old-fashioned customer service. And if someone brings a bike in and needs a repair, we want to be able to say, yes, we can do that. And as we started stocking parts, we could do it more readily, quickly. But the customer service has always been the main focus, service with a smile, so to speak.
Okay. So was that a large component of what you had to do to get started, was buying the inventory to do the service side, or did that grow gradually?
That grew gradually. Tools are expensive. Supplies are expensive. And we're constantly growing inventory there. Replacement parts are varying, and there's vast amounts of different brands that have come on the bandwagon. So we have choices of different brands and different quality levels. Tires, we've got more tires than we ever had before, and more brands. There's all sorts. It keeps us busy. It keeps us on our toes. But it keeps the customer happy because they can get their bike back quick and in good running order.
And so do you manage the purchasing of the spare parts, or do you have somebody else who does that?
I do a lot of the purchasing, although the guys are at the computer, at their workbench, ready to go. If a customer needs a certain part, we get right in there, and we've got several vendors. It's another thing we've added over the years. We've got several vendors that have parts and different types of parts, and so they can go right on, order it up. A lot of the times it's not just the one part for the customer. We'll order excess for stock, just in case we need that down the road.
Okay. And you mentioned in the break you've grown to 2 full-time service people now?
Yes. I've got one. He's been my friend since probably the late 80s, since we were kids riding BMX bikes around town. Good friend. He's my age. He's a full-time, brilliant mechanic, really good with people, amazing customer service background. So got him as our head mechanic. And although he'd arm wrestle with our youngster that we have, who's a couple of years out of high school, also a brilliant mechanic and knows a lot of the new side of hydraulic brakes and mountain bikes and the stuff that kind of goes way over my head. He is excellent at that. So I've got 2 super good mechanics that are also good with people and kind of carry on the theme of good customer service as people walk in the door.
Would you be able to have somebody walk in with any kind of bike and be able to perform service work on it for them?
Yes. We've even had some strange electric bikes come in that we haven't heard of. Seems to be a new one every week. But yeah, we can do it. A lot of the bikes have common parts, as long as it's not a motorcycle. We've had people try to bring in their motorcycles and mopeds, and that's not equipped for that. Don't have those tools, but they're getting kind of close. There's a lot of hydraulic brakes that run with mineral oil. So a lot of that stuff is, it's getting to be the the main thing that the manufacturers are using, especially on the e-bikes. So braking is better. So we're pretty well versed in that. And, a lot of the bikes are, jumping on that bandwagon as well. So we can handle all those.
Is the technology changing on bikes a lot?
It is. Seems that every year there's something new coming out, like electronic shifting. There's, they've put to rest just about, the front derailleur, and now all the gears are on the back of the bike. So you'll see 12 speed on the back, like a rear derailleur, rear shifter, 12 speed, only one shifter, only one derailleur. And that's really simplified things. People got confused on the left and the right shifters, so that eased the pain for some of the people that way. Technology with the electronic stuff is, my mechanics are into that as well. So that's a little bit over my head, but I'm glad I've got those guys here to help with that.
Okay. We're at the right spot for our second break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Scora and WHBY, and we'll be right back.
WHBY Radio, I'm one of your co-hosts, Rick Sense, and with me again today is Terry Pinch. And our guest today is Mark Fluette from Active Bike and Fitness in Appleton. And Mark, I have to confess to our listeners, I have bought numerous bikes. Both my wife and I have bought numerous bikes from you over the years. And we keep coming back because you provide an atmosphere of real comfort when you walk in the store. It's always greeted by whomever's at the desk at the time very quickly, very helpful environment. Can you tell me why that level of comfort for your customers is so important to you?
Sure. Years ago, I'd say it's a little over 10 years ago, I worked for a company that they were really big on high pressure. It was, as a customer walked in the door, corporate actually knew they had a camera on the door, and they knew that I had an opportunity to sell something, and I had to make the most of that, op, as they called it, coming in the door. They were so high pressure on their employees to be high pressure on the customer. I was expected to sell a piece of equipment to a customer that day, and that was the goal. And a lot of guys were really getting good at it, and they would shoot for the moon on promising the magic pill and how this is going to change your life. It was theatrical, and I was in it so deep. I was there for so long that I was well trained. They did training on how to get the customer to buy first time, or to at least get all their info. So you had to follow up with them regularly until they bought. It was uncomfortable for me constantly to be that high pressure. And if my numbers weren't as good as the new guys, I would get a phone call from corporate, and I would get the drill sergeant treatment screaming over the phone from corporate out of another state. And I remember interrupting that screaming at me one time, saying I had a customer, and then I had to get back into my game face after just being humiliated over the phone on why my numbers weren't up. So to be out of that world is refreshing, and to treat people like family, like friends. It's actually created a whole lot of friends. We got people that come and hang out at the shop. They'll come in, and it's not all about business right away. It's, hey, how have you been? And hey, what's new? And can I get you a drink? And it's kind of what brings us back around to the old customer service thing, and that's our main objective, is to make people feel welcome and feel happy about their purchase and everything in between.
Well, I know just from my own experience again, when my wife and I have had problems with our bikes, we've been able to come in and see you or somebody on your team there and get assistance. And usually we're back out the door pretty quickly. And there's actually been times where you and your staff have actually worked with my wife and I and taught us how to do some things, which has actually been very helpful when we're on a 20-mile trail somewhere in the middle of nowhere and we've got a flat tire to fix. So Can you maybe talk to the listeners about why that approach, as far as educating customers, is so important as well?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's just the little things that drive you mad, like a squeaky brake. Back in the day, the squeaky brake, I was always taught, it's just a brake pad that's grabbing and releasing so fast it reaches a harmonic, it reaches a vibration, and it sounds like a goose in distress. And that's an old rubber brake pad sticking to a rim over and over, just super fast vibrating. You tow in the brake pads and that goes away. So it's basic brake pad tow in. Well, these days you get the same type of squeak, maybe even louder on the disc brakes. If anybody walks up and touches a disc brake, one of those disc rotors with your fingertips, you get oils from your fingertips on there, and then you sound like a goose in distress when you put your brakes on. So we keep fresh rags at the counter. I have a workbench right at the counter as well to work on someone's bike, and isopropyl rubbing alcohol to clean their brake discs. And if it's an older bike and they're getting squeaky brakes, just the same, I can tow in their brake shoes and make the squeak go away 9 times out of 10. They don't need new brake pads in most cases, but I've got those if they need them. So being able to, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, being able to take care of pretty much anything that they bring in the door, with common sense things that they can take with them and do out on the road is, we're happy about helping them do that.
You talked about earlier some of the challenges you faced when you were first starting out. What are some of the challenges that you and your team are facing today?
Man, we enjoy our work so much that there's not much for challenges. The only challenge I really see is taxes. Paying taxes is a necessity, and it's something that hurts. But tax season coming around, last year we have a great tax guy, but he was short on an employee or two, and we got our taxes in late, which means we had to pay our tax. It was they filed an extension, and we didn't have the big summer cash flow to pay those right away. And so to help catch up, for the first time ever, I had to start up a line of credit with the credit union, and I was approved, taking care of that. So all is well there, but we've never really had to lean on the bank. We were able to keep a good balance. Only early on, I had to borrow a few thousand from my father, paid him back quick, and so it's a little different now that I've got a line of credit open as a business. It opens up. If I need to buy a bunch more inventory, I can do that and then pay the bank back as quick as I can.
So you've had an opportunity to work with some folks in the community. One of the things that you did a while back, and maybe you can let listeners in on it, is you actually collected bikes for a cause. Can you maybe go into that a little bit?
Sure. Old friend of mine from high school was working with a humanitarian mission on supplying bicycles to refugees. Refugees came in from all over the world, and they were taking all sorts of jobs in the valley here. And a lot of the refugees, I forget where they were from, but they spoke good English, very, very nice people, and they just needed transportation to get to and from work. And where they come from, everybody rode bicycles, and very few families had a car. Maybe 2 or 3 families living under the roof had one car. So we were able to run a drive. We had signs out in the parking lot, and there was cars lined up, bringing bikes in the backs of the cars. And we took photos, and there was hundreds and hundreds of bikes in the parking lot. Some of the bikes really needed a lot of work. Some of the bikes were extremely expensive, nice donations. So we ended up getting a bunch of bikes connected with all these people, different sizes, different shapes for the different needs, provided them with lights, locks, and helmets as well. We would sell some of the super expensive carbon fiber racing bikes, and the profit from it would go to buying the helmets and the lights and the locks. So they were all well set up. They would come back for service if needed. We'd take care of it. And that was a lot of fun. We had so many excess bikes that we filled a trailer for Goodwill, and we donated a lot of the department store bikes or the fixer upper bikes to Goodwill. So it was quite the adventure.
Yeah. So you derive, to me, it's obvious at least that you derive a lot of joy in what you do, Mark. How do you play as well in your business as far as like the biking side of it, or are you just there to sell the bikes, service the bikes, and do you do any biking of your own, or do you do playful biking on your own, so to speak?
Oh yeah. We bike all winter long. We'll go up to a place in Green Bay. It's the Green Bay Action Sports Organization. It's an indoor riding facility. And it's not just any old riding. It's riding on ramps. I'm a stunt rider. Have been since I was about 16. There's been probably hundreds of thousands of miles on ramps for me, going up, coming back down. I've always thought maybe I could put a computer on my bike and see how many miles I am putting on in a skate park or riding around in the streets and jumping curbs, but it's a lot of miles. My son and I go mountain biking here and there, but for the most part, I'm a BMXer, and on occasion I'll do some BMX racing down at the track in Oshkosh. We've got good friends that help run that track. And for the most part, I'm a skate park rider and doing stunts on ramps at Tallulah Park in the summer and up at the Green Bay Action Sports Organization in Green Bay.
And do you do some, when you talked about the track in Oshkosh, do you do some booths or repairs and that type of thing at tracks and events and races?
We participate in a couple of things a couple times a year at the track. I've got another good friend that actually is a mobile repair right out of the back of his vehicle, and he's got a trailer, and he does mobile repair at the track, so I don't step on his toes. He's got that well under control. He's doing races. He's doing the mountain bike races, the BMX races, and fat bike races for mobile repair, as well as private pull up to your house type of mobile repair. We help support him as well as he stops by. We've got events planned together, but yeah, we do all sorts of stuff like that. As far as the track, they've got a show every year, and we'll participate in that. We advertise with the track, so you'll see a sign for Active Bike and Fitness as you go up to the track with their main sponsors. So they also put us on a jersey. We sponsor a race team, and so we've got title sponsor on their jerseys as well.
And you mentioned the fat biking. How popular is that becoming in our area? And compared to like the e-biking, is it more popular or less popular?
A little less popular. You'll still see a lot of the people on their fat bikes. They're really dedicated, and some guys commute on them whether there's snow on the ground or not. They're riding their fat tire bike. E-biking is far more popular, and it hits more people from all different walks of life. The people that tend to ride the fat bikes, they're looking for snow. They're looking for the impassable. Some of them are riding on sand dunes even. It's just a super wide, good traction tire. It hit popularity years ago, 3-4 years ago, maybe at a peak, and I think it's been dropping a little bit. But I just sold some fenders to a guy who has a fat bike. He's going out there expecting some slop and hitting whatever snow he can. So he just bought a set of fenders today for it. So it's still hanging on. There's a ride every year across Lake Winnebago. The ride across Bago is not happening this year, but as there's good thick ice on Lake Winnebago, you'll see tons of fat bikes riding across that. I've done that once. Not much for cold. I'd rather ride indoors, but yeah, not as popular as the e-bikes. That's really taken over.
Okay. How much of your marketing is word of mouth versus, say, social media or newspaper, magazines, that type, and TV, radio, that type of thing?
I would estimate about 80% is word of mouth. We don't do a lot of advertising. I I admit I should post more on Instagram and Facebook. We're on each of them as Active Bike, and I really, my wife would tell me you really need to be posting more often, um, and that's something I do need to get better at. But the word of mouth is huge. We get a lot of good word of mouth from all different people, and that's played a part since the beginning, and that we really like growing because it's some of the best advertising is word of mouth.
Would you recommend how I should say what would you recommend to somebody starting a business develop that kind of word of mouth business? What things would you recommend that they concentrate on, Mark?
Um, Starting out, man, start small. A lot of people think you need a lot of capital to start a business. You really don't. Um, we've seen some of the best shops in history start out of people's garages. Um, and it's just one person at a time, one item at a time, and a little patience. But yeah, definitely doing good enough to get that word of mouth is kind of a feather in the cap every time. That would be my main advice.
What would you do if you had to do something or you could do something again? What would you do differently, if anything?
Hmm. Um, Man, keep up on my quarterly taxes. That's probably the most painful is taxes, and I gotta get better at that as well. So, um, but otherwise, everything else has been really good, and um, picked an enjoyable field. There's nothing like the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle and dealing with guys that are into riding bicycles. Um, the exercise equipment thing has kind of faded, but I'm still hanging on to it. There's still ellipticals out there. There's still people that are interested in fitness. And a lot of my background with that fitness equipment company, they had me trained as a personal trainer. So I had a bit of training in that. I was really never fully certified to be a hands-on personal trainer, but it also lends a bit of good advice when it comes to not overdoing it and watching cardio and watching diet and being able to keep range of motion that you have. A lot of people want to get a step through bike because they think their hips are going to go bad. Well, if you keep using them and keep stretching your range of motion, you'll keep that range of motion. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I do use a lot of that stuff that I learned back in the day with that other company. So I'm thankful for that. I don't know. It's something that I keep in the back of my mind, and it helps from time to time.
Um, as you look at how your business has evolved in the last 10 years since you started up, how much time do you spend thinking about where you're going to go next versus the day-to-day business?
Oh, I'm always daydreaming about some type of thing, but day-to-day business, there's always a list of things to do. And that I have been making a habit of taking care of the hard stuff on the list first, and taking care of like there was a customer of mine that bought e-bikes, brought them down to Florida, and had an issue, and I had to help connect them with parts to the shop that they're involved with down in Cape Canaveral, and in the midst of a busy store, helping a customer that's down in Florida. I was able to do that, and still in the process. Got to follow up and see if the shop has gotten the parts yet. Has the fix worked? And I'm helping that warranty coverage come along. So there's always challenges, and got to meet them head on and take care of them right away.
So you've adapted, though, a lot to things like the technology coming in, fitness taking less and less of your time, or the fitness side, bike side, or equipment side of it. Where do you think things are going to head over the next few years?
Well, something I resisted right away when the e-bikes started to come into availability with my vendors, I resisted for a couple of years. And then I found the right e-bike company, the right models and the right price point that I was comfortable with, and I thought my customers would be comfortable with. So that's been off and running. Coming up, I think more things are going to go electric. I see there's people asking for kids' electric bikes. I haven't seen much for that yet. But in my opinion, I'd like to see kids pedaling their bikes under their own power and not having an e-bike. But if there's a demand for it, maybe I'll bring some in, as long as they're not super fast. Cause there's been a lot of visits to the ER with, say, those e-scooters. Small wheel hits a curb, they cartwheel right over. Those are really dangerous. You got to be careful on those. The bikes have bigger wheels so they can manage potholes and curbs better. But I'd say there's probably going to be more electric, better technologies ahead with computers and tracking of your progress, and GPS is there, but that's getting better. I don't know. There's always something new coming down the pipe. That's for sure.
So we're at the place for our last break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score and WHBI, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I would like to thank our sponsor who brings Biz Talk to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without the generous support from them. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates help small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes, helping to minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. And a special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. So now turn back to Mark. Could you let our listeners know how they can contact you and where the business is located?
Sure. Active Bike and Fitness is located at 1131 North Badger Avenue. We're right next to ExxonMobil and about a small block away from Wisconsin Avenue, and can be reached at 920-202-3034 or at activebikeandfitness.com. And you can also find us on Facebook at Active Bike and Fitness or Instagram at Active Bike and Fitness.
Okay. And as we go into the last few minutes of the show, I just want to come back and touch a little bit on some of the conversation we had. And you mentioned what it was like to work at your previous location and how that led you to start up this new business. Could you just talk a little bit more about how important it is to have that passion for what you're doing when you're running a small business?
Super important. Having the passion to share with the customer, to teach the customer, to experience a new bicycle with the customer. The passion is really where it's at as far as being out there in the parking lot. And we had a lady that she had never ridden a bike. She came from a country where she'd never ridden a bike, and we helped her learn how to ride I was right there with her, helping her balance, and I taught her how to ride a bike in the parking lot. So that's part of the passion is seeing people have a good experience with whatever they get here.
And how when you look at the passion you've got, especially not just for bikes, but for BMX in particular too, how did you really expect to be where you are today when you were graduating from high school?
Not at all. Years ago, when I was working in the exercise equipment store, I was working with a guy named Tim, and Tim was he was my boss, so to speak, at the bike shop. He was then my boss at the exercise equipment shop. And he mentioned something that kind of stuck in my head. He said, "Mark, you'd be really good at running a bike shop." And I remember him saying it. It stuck in my head all these years, and I never really forgot. I always kept it in mind, and next thing you know, I'm starting up a bicycle shop. My wife actually pushed me to start it, and it's been the best decision ever. It's been a good business. It's still on the grow. I'm learning a lot, and it's been quite the experience, quite the adventure. So it's something that I plan on continuing. We own the property here, and several good years left in me, so I plan on using it well.
Well, you've got a really good story. It's great for people to hear about how you got into something that meant so much to you and have made it a success. So we really appreciate having you on. For everybody listening, if you want to listen to this show again, it'll be on biztalkwithscore.com in a couple of weeks. But otherwise, if you go to that site now, you can find probably about the last 6 years now of shows are out there on the site, and you can listen to some other incredible stories about small businesses in the area. It's really a surprise to us every week about what we find out about people around here in the businesses they run. So thanks everybody again. You've been listening to Biz Talk with Score, and I hope you have a great weekend.